Today, we are going to be looking at IELTS Writing Task 1, the bar chart. Specifically, this series will be looking at the overview paragraph for Writing Task 1. The overview is a really important part where you're going to be identifying the main trends, and these trends are then going to be the main sentences for your body paragraphs, where you'll be sharing details and making the comparisons to complete your essay. So it's really important. It's important to understand when you look at a bar chart, is it a static bar chart where there's no time reference, or it's a dynamic bar chart that does have a time reference? We want to make sure that our overview has 2 sentences, maybe 3. We also want to make sure that we do not have any data in our overview. We're going to save that for the body. And we want to make sure that we're identifying a pattern, not just highlighting one major data point. To help you identify the main trend in the static chart, here are a few simple questions you can ask yourself while looking at the chart. In this chart, I would look at the percentages and I would say, of these 3 bars, which ones are typically the highest? And I can see it's going to cafes is the highest. And I ask myself, well, which ones are typically the lowest? And if I look at them, it's buying fresh coffee is the lowest. In the dynamic chart, I want to ask what has increased the most over time. And if I look at the chart, I can see that over those years, China has increased the most. And when I look at what decreased the most, I can pretty much draw a line going downward representing Algeria. So that is the significant trend. But there's a minor complexity in our static chart. We can see the trend is the same in just about every city. In Sydney, it's the highest. In Melbourne, it's the highest. In Brisbane, it's the highest. In Hobart, it's the highest. But in Adelaide, it's not the highest. So does that mean we need to throw away the trend? It could. But again, we have a complexity. And what the IELTS exam wants to see is, how do you handle complexity? What language do you have to handle that complexity? And I would simply look at this and say, well, going to the cafe was the most popular for almost all of the cities. I'll mention that in my overview, and then I'll describe it in more detail in the body. So the overview for the static chart would look like this. Overall, the largest percentage of people in almost all of the Australian cities visited a cafe in the past 4 weeks. The smallest percentage of Australians bought fresh coffee in the last 4 weeks. So that's what the overview looks like. And when you pair it with the introduction, we see we're halfway done with our essay, and we have a roadmap for completing the essay, because those trends mentioned in the overview will be discussed in greater detail in the body paragraph. But I'll save that for another video. And when we look at the dynamic chart, we can look for a pattern and find very easily, we see those red bars are constantly increasing from year to year. So we can say that China increased over the years. And when we look at the green bars, we can see them going down and going down. So Algeria decreased the most, and that's it. Now, how we see that little, I guess like a hockey stick at the end, we don't need to talk about that so much right now, but still, Algeria represented the greatest decrease and China represented the greatest increase. And that's enough for our overview. So an introduction could look like this. Overall, the property price in China increased the most from 2007 to 2010. The biggest decrease in property price over those 4 years was in Algeria. So I'd like you to notice that it's fairly short and fairly simple. And I'm hoping that you're looking at this with a little suspicion, like saying, it can't really be that easy, can it? And I'd say, well, test it out. Try this with a few other examples that you have, and see how it works. And so that's what the overview for the bar chart looks like. So I hope you liked that. I hope it was helpful for you. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.